Friends, welcome to our homestead, welcome to our garden. Today we're going to be talking about how to properly pick sweet potatoes and one thing you should never ever let happen to them. Also, we are going to be showing you several different methods on how to cure your sweet potatoes, which is extremely important if you want good ones. Let's get going. I love sweet potatoes. They are easy to grow, they are packed full of nutrition, and if they're cured properly, they taste great. A lot of people don't know this, but sweet potatoes are a tropical plant, a member of the morning glory family. This is one of the flowers that is on the sweet potato. Looks just like the morning glory vines I have growing up the side of my house. What's also not widely known is that you can eat the leaves of the sweet potato. These are incredibly tender and they taste kind of like spinach. This is really big in Southeast Asian cooking, especially Filipino cooking, and they're called kamote. Let's get to harvesting. It's pretty easy to harvest these, but you need to be careful with the sweet potato. At this stage of getting them out of the ground, the skin is incredibly delicate. But the first thing we need to do is cut back all of these vines. The easiest way for me to do that is with these hedge trimmers or these old rusty hedge trimmers. It doesn't matter. This will take care of them really easily. If you don't have that, I've got something called a hori-hori knife here, which is really nice, and it's got this serrated edge. You can just hold them up and chop them off. Once we get into the ground, we'll use a digging fork, or what's a little bit better is using your own hands. Just get a pair of gloves and start pulling them out of the ground that way. That way you won't stab them with your digging fork. Before I start to harvest them, I'm going to tell you that one thing you should never, ever do with sweet potatoes, and I've seen a big gardening channel do this, and I don't know why he does it. And that is, you should never let the vines and the leaves get frozen or frosted. And if they do, they will turn black very, very quickly, and they will begin to rot and decay very, very quickly. That rot and decay will get sent down the vines underground to your sweet potato tubers. And that happens very fast, within 28 to 48 hours. Here's a solution. If you cannot harvest and you know a freeze is coming, just cut the tops off. Cut all the vines back, throw them in the compost pile, throw them to the chickens, whatever. But do not let them freeze and stay out here connected to those tubers underground. If you cut all the vines and tops off, take them aside, and then you get a few more freezes, your potatoes are still protected under the ground. Even if it's frozen outside, they will be fine there under the ground for a week, possibly two. But make sure you never leave those dead and decayed vines on the top connected to your sweet potatoes. Never. Okay, let's start cutting back these tops so we can harvest these sweet potatoes. But how do you know when these are ready to harvest? Well, you can see indicator number 1 right here. You see the very dark leaves, but you see these leaves yellowing up front. And as soon as they start to yellow, these potatoes are pretty much ready to get out of the ground. It's currently October 3rd right now, and this is the perfect time to harvest these in Zone 8B East Texas. So the second way you are going to know that these are done is that most varieties of sweet potato are ready to harvest between 90 and 120 days. So it all depends on what you bought and planted. For us, we tried some new ones this year. We've got the regular Beauregard, which is the orange American one that everybody really knows about. We've got some Okinawan purples, and we also have one that's called a Jersey yellow. But a friend of mine who is Jamaican said, hey, those are the ones we have in Jamaica. They're a little bit less sweet than the ones that we get here in the US, the orange ones. But in my personal opinion, they're really good. So that's how you know. Let's start cutting back these vines. Now, most of these yellow vines you don't want to eat, so these will go one of two places. That's either in the compost pile or the chicken coop. But of course, these beautiful deep green ones are going in my refrigerator. So I have cleared a nice little area here to start, and the way I plant these is I do mounded rows. So I have 3 mounded rows that have actually kind of broken down over time, but I generally know where I planted each slip or sweet potato because I do plant both of those, a sprouted sweet potato and a slip. So this ground is a little bit hard right now, and it would take me a lot to really get at these with just digging with my hands. So I am going to use my digging fork. Just be careful, kind of pry from the side of where you know the sweet potatoes probably are, and then just kind of pop it up. Now, a lot of people will take a lawnmower to cut the tops off, and you can certainly do that, but the reason I don't is because I have drip tape incorporated into these rows. Okay, after you get your sweet potatoes out of the ground, you can gently brush them off. Be careful of the outside skin because it is not thickened up and cured yet. But just get off all the excess dirt. Whatever you do, don't wash them. Just get off those big clumps and then we're ready to cure. Okay, now comes an important step, and that is curing your sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes, for the first 5 days after you dig them out of the ground, need to be kept at 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit and 80% humidity. We're going to achieve that here in our greenhouse, but I know a lot of you don't have greenhouses. So I'm going to show you a few ways you can cure them without a structure like this. But for me, it's hot and humid here in the greenhouse. It's a perfect place to cure our sweet potatoes. So I have just a makeshift table here in the greenhouse, and I've put some of the sweet potatoes right here as a demonstration on how to cure them. Now, it's important. We want our sweet potatoes to cure, but we don't want them to mold or to rot or to cook. So I'm not going to leave them out directly in the sun like this. I'm going to put them under this burlap. And burlap is great because it's going to breathe. It's going to let out some moisture so that they don't rot. If you put plastic over here, then you could induce some rotting. And if you do a piece of plastic, then you want to cut a lot of air holes in it. It will still hold in the moisture, but we don't want condensation to form on the inside. Make sure when you are laying the sweet potatoes out, they are in one layer, and there is a little bit of space between each one. Now, if a few of them are touching, that's no big deal, it's okay. Keeping them in one layer is important because you don't want to stack them on top of one another and invite condensation to build up between the two sweet potatoes and start to rot them. So what if you don't have a greenhouse? You just have the space inside of your house. Well, everybody has a greenhouse. Some people have a greenhouse in the form of a clear plastic container like this. What you're going to do in this container is put your sweet potatoes in the bottom, set them in a warm, sunny place in your house. Remember, only one layer of sweet potatoes along the bottom. Then you're just going to put the top on kind of crooked like this. So you can get some air circulation in there, but it is going to hold in some humidity. This is a really good solution for a lot of people, but if you can't find these, everybody has a plastic bag in their house. This can act as a mini greenhouse. What we're going to do is just layer in our sweet potatoes. Remember to keep them in one layer and spaced apart from one another just a little bit. You can tie the end if you want, but you can leave it a little open like this if you don't have a huge breeze that's just blowing it up. You can leave it a little bit open, and that's going to let some of the air out. But you can also take a pair of scissors and cut some ventilation holes in it. That's going to allow that excess moisture to escape while still keeping some humidity in the bag. So after those first 5 days of curing your sweet potatoes at 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit at 80% humidity, you want to take them and get them into a cooler, darker place in your home. I will keep them in ventilated boxes like this and wrapped in newspaper. So after that, store them from 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit for up to 6 weeks before the sugars are fully developed. And then they are good to eat, but they will last for a very long time, up to a year in those conditions. Don't worry if you can't get those conditions met perfectly. You're still going to do well, and the sugars are going to develop in the sweet potatoes. But for optimal development, follow those guidelines I just talked about. We hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and certainly comment on it and share it with your friends. Now go click on this video right here, which YouTube tells me you're going to love. Have a beautiful, blessed day. See you next time. Bye.